Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of The World Today. I'm Ahmed Nader, and as usual, we will be discussing the latest headlines and the articles published in several newspapers and magazines from Egypt and the world. And we will be starting straight away from Ahram online, and the main headline saying President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi discusses the irrigation projects. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi met with the Minister of Irrigation and Water Resources, Hussam al-Mughazi. During the meeting, Mughazi reviewed with the head of state the irrigation projects implemented by the ministry, especially the urgent ones to promote the sanitary drainage networks and the irrigation stations in the two governorates of Alexandria and Bahira. Meanwhile, al-Sisi hailed the new projects which use the modern methods for the reasonable consumption of water and guarantee the best usage of the Egyptian water resources. The President also discussed with Mughazi the preparations of the ministerial meeting due to be held in Sudan to follow the latest situation of the Ethiopian dam. And right now I'm being honored to have with me over the phone Mr. Amgad Farahad, the political analyst. Mr. Amgad, can you hear me?
Oh, yes.
Mr. Amgad, first of all, thank you very much for being with us today on The World Today. We have been speaking about President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and his meeting with the Minister of Water Resources and Irrigation. How did you see such a meeting in such a critical timing of the Egyptian history?
Well, the meeting proves that the presidency is paying the same due attention to the internal affairs as they are doing with the international affairs, especially when it comes to the point of water resources and what happened lately of the torrential rains that came to Egypt, and we are not used to it in the last few weeks. So I think this is quite a step that proves that the president is doing all what it should be done in the course of the internal affairs, especially water resources.
Yes, how do you see the benefits of the new irrigation projects that are being implemented here in Egypt?
Well, as far as the statement which was announced after the meeting, the minister indicates that there are certain projects in terms of irrigation projects, and there are other projects in terms of sewerage projects to rehabilitate or to reconstruct or to renovate the network of sewage system in certain governors, especially
Yes.
what in Alexandria and Bahira. And moreover, there are other mega projects like the what's called barrage in Asyut, which is a very big project. 75% of this project has been implemented already, and it will have a big effect on a number of governorates in concern of irrigation system, and also it's going to produce or going to generate something like 30 megawatts of electricity, and this is one of the projects that must be indicated to. And on the other hand, there is also the museum for irrigations, which is being established in Aswan. It will be open very soon, and it will be one of the landmarks of Aswan, and it will be one of the steps or one of the tourist attraction points in the very near future.
Yes, how do you see the future of the Egyptian Nile share of the water, as you has just mentioned the Renaissance Dam of Ethiopia?
Well, the Ethiopian dam is not an easy subject to talk about in a few minutes, actually. But what I can say that there will be a meeting supposed to be held in the next few days.
Yes.
And this meeting will include going to be not only the ministers of irrigations in the countries of Egypt, Sudan, and Ethiopia. It will be also including the foreign ministers of these countries,
Yes.
which indicates that the subject is taking different trend now. It's taking the political trend. And now, politically speaking, the dam must be looked at from different point of view. Different perspectives must be taken into consideration, especially if we consider that all the previous talks came to no tangible results. And that's what leads the negotiations and all between the three countries to take another term, which is political terms, and approves the interference of the foreign ministers in the countries in concern.
Yes, Mr. Amgad Farahat, to be talking more about the Ethiopia Renaissance Dam and the Egyptian as well as the Sudanese participation in the negotiations involving the building of such a dam. We turn to the daily news of Egypt and the main headline saying tripartite meeting between Egypt, Ethiopia and Sudan on the Renaissance Dam postponed. A planned meeting between the foreign ministers and the irrigation ministers of Egypt, Ethiopia and Sudan to discuss the Ethiopian under construction Grand Renaissance Dam has been postponed at the request of Ethiopia. The spokesman for the Egyptian Foreign Ministry, Ahmed Abu Zaid, released a statement saying that the meeting, which had been scheduled to take place in Khartoum on Sunday and on Monday, will be held instead on the 11th and the 12th of December. The planned meeting aims at refreshing the technical talks on the dam and discussing concerns from the Egyptian side, according to the Foreign Ministry statement. The 9th round of the negotiations on the dam was held in Cairo in November. The 10th round of talks is scheduled to take place in Khartoum following the meeting. The next round of talks will attempt to solve differences between two consulting firms commissioned to carry out studies on the potential impact of the dam after one of the two firms dropped out in September, citing concerns about the conditions imposed on the study. Mr. Amgad, first of all, why do you think that Ethiopia requested to be postponing such a meeting?
I think the Ethiopian part, they are playing on time all the time, and actually the time is not on our side. While we are postponing the meetings every now and then, and procrastinating the debate and the negotiating all along this time, and in the meantime, the construction is underway, non-stop, and in full swing. And that means that, in my opinion, actually, I don't want to force my opinion on the political arena, but I would like to express myself on this part especially. I think the Ethiopians are just gaining time.
Yes.
And they are trying to create a de facto on land, and to come to the point when you are coming to the negotiating table and you have a de facto already there, you're losing your winning cards, and that's what they are playing to, and we must be aware of this fact actually. And I think we should have asked to stop the construction which is underway in the dam for the moment, and to connect the construction to come back on the results of the negotiations, which is supposed to be happening between the three countries in concern, and this must be into the agenda of our negotiators.
Yes.
Next meeting. I think this is my perspective concerning this point.
Yes, the meeting is set to be held on the 11th and the 12th of December. So how would you see the impact of this meeting?
Nobody can expect a positive result of the next meeting if we base our assumption on the previous ones. The consequences of the next meeting, or we shall come to a detente of the situation in the next meeting. I don't think that will happen. I think the Ethiopian and I am afraid to say the Sudanese as well. They are playing on the same ground. They are trying to pull our leg, to pull the Egyptian leg to a non-stop negotiation till the dam become a de facto. And I wish that it will, our negotiators in the next meeting will be decisive and will be clear that if we don't come to a positive result, the dam, the construction of the dam must come to a stop. And this is very important.
Yes, Mr. Amgad, as well as what we have been speaking about is that one of two consulting firms had dropped out in the month of September. Should we be concerned about such a step?
One of the two bureaus, which is supposed to be the ones who are responsible to make all the technical assessment of the dam, withdraw, as you said. But there are certain news that they will come back again. They will be back again and making the assessment reports. This is not the point. It's all technical. It's all technical part. And actually, we should not get into the negotiation with the Ethiopian part face to face, just with the Sudanese only. We should have interfered. We should get an international bodies like in the UN or whatsoever to get as a judge, as a referee in the negotiation, because now it's only this negotiation between Egypt, Sudan, and Ethiopia. It cannot have the same weight like if we have another impartial party. Like any international institution, and that's what the Ethiopian refused. What I mean is the technical reports, which is supposed to be done by the two offices, even that we could not manage to make it done because of the Ethiopian stand.
Yes, Mr. Amgad Farahat, turning to another topic, and Egypt in the United Nations, with the main headline saying, "From Egypt Independent, choosing Egypt to head the United Nations counter-terrorism body reflects the international confidence in Egypt," according to the Foreign Ministry. Egypt was chosen to head the United Nations Security Council Counter-Terrorism Committee, the CTC, and two other committees starting January 2016. Spokesman to the Egyptian Foreign Ministry said in a statement that the choice of Egypt to head the CTC reflects the confidence of the Security Council members in Cairo. The CTC was established by the United Nations Security Council resolution in 2001, adopted on the 28th of September in 2001 in the wake of the 11th September terrorist attacks in the United States. Mr. Amgad, what is the significance of the Egyptian role in heading such a committee?
It's an international acknowledgement of the Egyptian status, especially in the part when we are now as Egyptians we are fighting terrorism on a larger scale. And as far as I remember, that President Sisi, in one of his speeches, he was warning the whole world that what we are facing now is not only the peril against Egypt, but it's going to be a peril and hazards to all over the world. And that's what's going on now. Now we can find that terrorism is attacking Europe, the heart of Europe. Even Paris. Paris is the heart of Europe. And it was attacked and fiercely and brutally. And multiple attacks. It was a multiple attack, actually. It was for the shock for everybody all over the world. And that proves that our attitude, our president's attitude, our president's warning came true. Now everybody is suffering from terrorism. It's not only the Middle East, it's not only the Arab countries, but it's going to be the whole world. And that Egypt will head such a committee in the UN, it's an acknowledgement of the Egyptian stance and of the Egyptian importance and of the Egyptian strategy that everybody, that the world, the international community approves the Egyptian stand and the Egyptian moves against terrorism.
Yes, what are the main measures and resolutions that can be passed by Egypt through the United Nations and through the CTC committee in 2016?
Well, all what we can do as a head of such a committee is to give suggestions of certain resolutions, like incriminating any country whatsoever which is proven to be financing any terroristic groups, no whatsoever, and that can be done. Also, we need to clarify, to identify the terrorism, what terrorism is. Because we cannot equal terrorism. What's happening now in Iraq by Daesh or ICE, and the struggle in Palestinian land. We cannot put both together on the same level. So we have to make a definition of what terrorism is. And secondly, I think we have to find certain incrimination to any country proved to be financing or supporting in any way, and we have to clarify what kind of support can be, or what this support can be. So there's certain work in front of us to be done and to present it to the UN.
Yes, Mr. Amgad, finally from the Global Post we read that 4,600 migrants rescued off the Libyan coast in 3 days. The Italian Coast Guard said on Sunday that more than 4,600 people were plucked to safety from boats off the Libyan coast as migrants took advantage of the waters to attempt the journey across the Mediterranean. On Saturday alone, the Coast Guard Operations Center in Rome coordinated 9 rescues, pulling 1,123 people to safety from 2 boats and 7 dinghies. Mr. Amgad, in a nutshell, how do you see the migration crisis in Europe and, of course, the main reasons behind it, which are terrorism in Libya, Syria and Iraq?
What I can say concerning this point, that Europe is paying for what they have done earlier. They one way or another, they are the reason behind what's going on. Now they are suffering from the migrants, especially from Syria. And there are people, hundreds of thousands of people, and they cannot stop that. And the problem is that we cannot identify the personnel, we cannot identify the migrants if they are really, they are families which is taking asylum because of war, or they are terrorists in disguise. And that's what we will discover in the near future. And what happened in Paris, for example, what happened in Paris is an indication that the migrant problem will affect Europe on a large scale. Some of the people who were convicted in attacking Paris, he was migrant from Syria, and he passed through Greece, and so on and so forth. So anyway, the point is that the migration problem is a result of the European strategy, of the European policy in the area, and they are paying for what they have done. They are paying for the strategy right now, and now they are trying to find some way out of it.
Yes, and hopefully it will be solved in the near future. Mr. Amgad Farhat, the political analyst, thank you very much for being. And this brings us to the end of the World Today for Sunday. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.